In 2014, Discovery Channel would release a series that I found fascinating, and I don't think it was just me because this went on for 14 seasons. It's called Alaskan Bush People, and it chronicles the turbulent journey of the Brown family, a family of 9 notorious for living in the deep woods of Alaska, and that was the main hook for the show. This gigantic family doing all kinds of crazy stuff in the middle of the woods, made all the more interesting by each family member's eccentric and unique personality. The family has been so isolated for so many years that they've developed their own slang, unique accents, and wild hobbies. The Brown family is extremely interesting, but it also turns out they harbor some horrific secrets. Beneath the veneer of Discovery Channel production was a very disturbing story that I believe has negatively affected many of the cast members in the years since the show wrapped, which is a controversy in and of itself, but I'm getting way ahead of myself. First, I want to give an overview of the familial structure and a brief description of each one of the cast members. The first two I want to talk about is Amy and Billy, the mother and father of the family. Billy's the one that got all this Discovery Channel stuff rolling. He had even wrote a book in the past about their time living in the Alaskan wilderness, but one thing Billy typically doesn't bring up is why he brought his family to said wilderness, and that mainly has to do with his wife, Amy, a religious woman who's very soft-spoken. Well, it turns out that Amy was very young when she met Billy. Allegedly, Billy was in his mid-20s, and Amy was in her early teens. Billy claims that he left the civilized world because of all the chaos that was in it. But if these allegations are to be believed, it makes a lot of sense that he would relocate to where he did. We'll get more into Billy and Amy's past as we cover the series in its entirety, but I wanted people to know this early on because I think it completely recontextualizes Billy as a character. Actually, more as a person, and it explains some stuff that happens in the show that wasn't really elaborated on very much. The next member of their family I'd like to cover is Matt, and Matt's tale is arguably even darker than his father's. On the surface, Matt presents himself as a zany, very happy person, believe it or not, one of the more normal members of the family, but the stuff that was going down behind the scenes with him is nuts. From substance problems to his own extremely disturbing allegations. We will talk about Matt at length during certain points in this video. Solomon, also known as Bear Brown, is the younger brother of Matt and a child of Amy and Billy, and he is by far the most eccentric member of the family. Bear's whole personality is molded around his perception of the extreme. He talks kinda like Steve Irwin, he runs everywhere, climbs trees, and does all kinds of other crazy stuff in the forest. A popular theory is that Bear suffers from some sort of severe ADHD, but there have also been allegations against him for using substances. I believe it was his ex-wife that alleged production had him hopped up to intensify his already eccentric personality. Next, I think we should talk about everyone's favorite genius, Noah. Noah talks like a dignified man from London, well, as best as he can, and styles himself as a genius inventor, the brains behind the Brown family. But if you ask me, Noah is the second laziest member of the family. No one's gonna beat out his dad, Billy. Noah uses his inventing as a way to get out of manual labor. His inventions are often useless, but they stroke his massive ego nonetheless. Now, you guys might think I'm being a little harsh, but even his own brothers think the same.
We get to play with frozen ropes and haul barges. Noah gets to stay home. How's that fair?
I promise later I'm gonna explain what they're doing on the barge, why Gabe is messing with the rope, but right now I'm just giving you a general overview of all the family members. So I think there's no better person to cover next then Gabe. Gabe was the guy with the mutton chops messing with the rope in the previous clip you saw. And Gabe is probably my favorite member of the family. He's one of the nicer members of the family, if not the nicest. And without his strength, the family would fall apart. Gabe's father used him like a mule. I'm not saying all of his brothers were lazy, mainly just Bear and Noah. But every time something actually gets done in the show, Gabe has put an overwhelming amount of work in. 14 seasons of television, and I don't think I saw Billy Brown lift a finger once to help any of them out. He would just point and order Gabe around. God, I could pop off for another 5 minutes about how much of a shyster Billy Brown is in a million different ways, but I'm gonna save it for later in the video when it's prevalent. The next member of the family I want to cover is the last of the brothers, Bam. Bam Bam Brown is, despite his name, one of the more level-headed members of the family. He does have a bit of a temper, but he is one of the more hard-working brothers. There's nothing really much else to note about Bam other than he has a little bit of an ego, but like his brother Gabe, he doesn't have any dark secrets that he's harboring, at least none that are public. The last two members of the family I want to talk about are the daughters. First is eldest daughter, Snowbird Brown. I don't really know how to go about describing Snowbird, other than she talks with an accent and she's kind of like Noah, with this Victorian kind of Mary Poppins aesthetic. Much like Bam, compared to the rest of her siblings, she's fairly normal, faring much better than her younger sister and youngest member of the family, Rain. Rain Brown was pretty young when production of Alaskan Bush People started, having the last years of her childhood and first years of her adulthood broadcasted to millions. Well, Rain didn't really have a lot of screen time in the show. She didn't talk much, but it's what seems to have happened after the show that's particularly sad. She also seems to be suffering from substance problems and would go on to pretty recently accuse Noah of some pretty disgusting behavior towards her. As I'm sure you've noticed, the family's been through a lot, and a lot of the stuff I've just discussed was not brought up at all during the TV show. So now I'm going to give you a general overview of all 14 seasons, and I'm going to have to interject at many points in this story, because like I said, production left out so much. Stuff that would have explained rather confusing events, all cut because it made the Brown family look terrible. So the first season of Alaskan Bush People starts in 2014, but what the Browns were getting up to before that is also something to talk about. Billy had taken a still teenage Amy into the woods for decades, having 7 children and settling deep in the Alaskan bush. And this was the family's home for many years, until they were discovered by the feds. It turns out that the Browns had built on federally protected land. Their cabin was not only seized, but burnt to the ground, forcing the Brown family to relocate. And this is where the first season of Alaskan Bush People picks up. After their cabin was seized, they were homeless, so Billy would purchase a small piece of land in northern Alaska. And for the first couple episodes, the family struggled to construct what they called a trapper cabin, a roughly made log cabin stuffed with moss and mud. Well, the entire family of 9 was living out of this one-room trapper cabin, and it was getting cold. But that was the least of their worries, because apparently locals weren't too fond of them bringing cameras around. The Brown family would hear increasingly closer gunshots each night, prompting them to move, out of the belief that it was locals angry with the production. But I need to emphasize, even this early on, so much of this show is fake. From what I've been able to gather, half the time the Browns weren't even living in the cabins they claimed they were, so who knows what the truth behind the gunshots was. But what was true is that they moved. They took their boat and moved back to the southeast of Alaska, and it seemed that they were living on this boat while they were waiting for a new land deal to go through. But shockingly, the boat sank to the bottom of the harbor. Now, I have my own theories about what actually happened to that boat and why it sunk to the bottom of the harbor, but unlike a lot of these other allegations, there's no proof behind it. I just find the timing of it all crazy. They had just acquired their new property, and an insurance payout wouldn't hurt, especially given the monumentous task they had in front of them. Building a house for 9 people from scratch in the middle of the Alaskan wilderness. And that's exactly what they did for the next couple of episodes. Gabe, Bam, and Matt are out there actually getting stuff done, while Noah is inventing. Bear is doing parkour, and Billy's just sitting there. The rest of season 1 consists of them working on the house and occasionally going to town to go to the junkyard or try and pick up on women, which never goes well, especially for Bear. His opening line is, "When was the last time you climbed a tree?" If I'm being honest, season 2 is just about as bad as Bear's pickup game. It's just them working on the house and butting heads. But season 3 is where things start to get pretty interesting, especially if you know a little bit about Billy Brown's past. In one of the earlier episodes of season 3, Amy Brown is asked to meet with state troopers, who are there because of a complaint lodged by her mother, who claims she hasn't been acting like herself. This is a welfare check, something that Amy finds shocking and offensive, claiming that her family was full of alcoholics and that she hadn't seen any of them since she was 17. Well, it makes a little bit more sense why her mom would call in a welfare check, given the fact that a mid-20-year-old Billy absconded with her when she was in her early teens, allegedly. And now you have a TV show? Her mom probably thought Amy was in danger, but the show doesn't frame it that way at all. They never talk about Amy and Billy's meeting, just framing this all as Amy having a crazy mother. Billy even takes this time to try and make people feel bad for him. When Billy was 16, his entire family died in a helicopter crash. That's the point that he brings up after the state troopers come to visit. Not why all of this might be happening, just how Billy lost his family. In the time since then, I don't think Billy worked a solid job. I'm pretty sure he had something to do with the fishing industry, but if you ask me, he's always been somewhat of a con, trying to rip people off either when he's selling or buying something, and of course, using his own children as a labor force. During season 3, the Browns were framed as being a little tight on cash, so a lot of the kids had to take up odd jobs in town, like demolishing buildings, and this was all to fix an engine on a new boat that they had purchased, a 62-foot boat that they would use for hauling things across the bay for pay. Well, after purchasing this boat, they found out that it had wood rot and needed a lot of work, so they were even more strapped for cash. And while they were in town one day, they came back to their cabin, which had just recently been halfway finished, and found that a grizzly bear had broken in, completely trashing the place, and the rest of their complex, which they lovingly named Brown Town. Billy was also dealing with a number of medical problems that forced the family to temporarily relocate to Seattle, Washington, but after 3 months they would return, to be met with criminal charges for allegedly collecting their oil dividend payments while not living in state. This caused both Billy and Bam Brown to have to spend 30 days in jail, but they just got sentenced to house arrest, and because their home was so remote, they were ordered to stay in the town of Juneau for 30 days. After they get back, it's revealed that Billy was actually married before he was to Amy, and that he even had a daughter before the rest of his kids, but he hasn't heard anything from his daughter in 30 years. Classic Billy. It's also around this time in season 5 that they start to have more problems with the locals. They would discover a buoy near their boat had several gunshots in it, fearing that the locals had once again become angry with production. But this was a very short storyline because something big was about to happen. And that would be the revelation of Matt Brown's struggles with addiction. It starts with Billy going to Matt, claiming that he hasn't been around much and he hasn't seen him sleep either.
Well, yeah, I have just been, I've had a lot on my mind. I just haven't been sleeping really well.
At first, Matt didn't come completely clean with his family, but he would eventually tell his brother Gabe in private that he had been going to town drinking and that it had become a problem. And eventually, Matt would reveal this to the rest of the family, and supposedly it was such a big deal because no one in the Brown family drinks. They proceeded to then have an emotional talk about how Matt should seek counseling, and he agreed. So they sent him back to town alone to fix his problem. So it wasn't very shocking when during the season finale, Bam returns to town to get Matt and he is nowhere to be found, leaving Season 5 on a cliffhanger. Season 6 opens with a quick resolution of said cliffhanger. Apparently Matt elected to continue counseling. My assumption is that he had a couple of relapses in there, but eventually he came to his senses and went back to treatment, returning home to Browntown at the beginning of Season 6. And for a while it seemed like he was doing better. He went out hunting for the family, got a deer, and it was beginning to look like he had cleaned up. I know that he just told the family it was alcohol, but it's highly speculated that there were some more substances in there as well. Typically, alcoholics don't have trouble sleeping. But from this point forward, Matt would fall further and further out of focus when it came to production's coverage, and that would be for a number of reasons, which we'll get into here just in a little bit. For now, the Brown family was making its living, filming TV, and barging items across the bay. But at this point, Bam wanted a little bit something more in his life. The boys were well into their 30s and none of them had wives. So Bam told his family that he was leaving Alaska to find love, and he left for the rest of the season. But it's what happened almost immediately after he left that is hilarious. Matt and Bam had been working on a project. Each one of the children was trying to build their own living spaces on the Brown property. So Bam and Matt had cut a bunch of red cedar to use as flooring in their cabins. And it couldn't have been but a couple days after Bam left that Billy gets one look at that pile of red cedar all cut and ready to be sold. So he asks Matt, hey, do you think it would be okay if we took this to sell? Browntown really needs the funds. And Matt says, sure. So while Bam was out of state, they sold all of his flooring lumber without even asking him. Classic Billy Brown. They ended up trading it for a wind turbine, which I think they got very little use out of. And we never really got to see Bam's reaction to his red cedar being sold out from under him. I bet he was pissed. Like I said though, they weren't going to get much use out of that wind turbine because they had to move to California at the start of Season 7. The Alaskan Bush people moved to California because the mother Amy was sick and needed medical treatment that wasn't available up there, apparently. And everyone left with Amy to California, except for Noah. Her condition was very serious. They found a lump in her lungs and she was diagnosed with stage 3 lung cancer. Pretty spooky because Amy claims that she's never smoked a day in her life, and I believe her. After the family's venture to California, Bam would abruptly end his love quest and return to be with his mother. And Matt would return to Browntown to watch the place so that Noah could go and see her during treatment. Well, it's during this time that something pretty extreme happens involving Matt. Production would rush towards the sound of an explosion that had come from Matt's cabin. Matt had been messing with what he called a bear deterrent device, of his own making of course, and it blew up right in his face, injuring him pretty badly. Matt needed an airlift to the nearest city to receive treatment, leaving his family and viewers with many questions, some believing Matt's side of things, and others thinking this was a possible attempt. With everything going on, Matt's injury, Amy's cancer, Billy's poor health, and of course, Bear, the family all came together and made a decision that they were no longer going to be Alaskan Bush people, closing out Season 7 with the desire to purchase land in Colorado, riding off into the sunset in an RV to find a new brown town. I want to take a moment to talk about the sheer amount of pollution that the Browns are causing with all of this brown town hopping. They're not cleaning any of this shit up. When they abandoned Browntown once again, they left heaps of garbage there. This is a reoccurring theme in the Browns' story. Show up to a beautiful place in nature, talk about how important it is to them, and then exploit all of its resources while trashing the place. Classic Billy Brown. Season 8 opens up with a bit of positive news. Amy has been declared cancer-free, but sadly, the Colorado land deal fell through. So instead, they decided to be Washington Bush people, buying a patch of land out there and living out of campers until construction of yet another home was complete. Something else that you'll notice about Season 8, besides the change in setting, is the lack of Matt. Once a key member of the Brown family, now nowhere to be seen without any explanation. And just like the allegations regarding Billy and Amy's ages, production doesn't talk about it much because it's incredibly dark. Again, these are just allegations at the moment. Nothing's been proven in the court of law, but they are incredibly disturbing nonetheless, coming from not just one person, but two. Within the span of a week, not one, but two members of production would allege that Matt had raped them. From what I could gather, no criminal charges were filed, but this did lead to an end of Matt being involved in Alaskan Bush people. Billy basically exiled him from the family, and Matt's story would only get darker as the years went by, none of which was mentioned in the 14 seasons of television covering the family. If you watched Season 8, they would have you believe that everything's fine, even ending on the positive note of Noah getting married, which is also going to be a massive source of drama in the near future for the family.
Then I got it tattooed on my chest.
Spoilers, Noah and his wife are currently separated and staring down a nasty custody battle with the children. But all in good time, because right now we're only at Season 9. It starts with Noah revealing that he would have the very baby that would be involved in the custody dispute. But stuff didn't really kick off until the Brown children started having land border disputes. The Washington property had been broken up in different pieces for different members of the Brown family, each one getting their own little slice to build on. While the other siblings keep accusing their brother Bam of expanding his own borders, and I can kinda see it, Bam comes in there like eminent domain, no, my stuff's going here, it works best, and there's nothing really anyone in the family could do to stop him. His sister Snowbird was the most pissed, but it seemed like in the end, Bam's border expansion was a success. Ah yes, building on land that isn't legally yours. A proud Brown family tradition. Billy would be so proud if he wasn't so sick at this point in the timeline. Billy would be rushed to the emergency room and during a 7-hour operation had 1 liter of fluid removed from his chest. And after the operation, doctors told Billy that he probably couldn't return to his home. His health was in serious jeopardy. This, combined with the increased elevation of their property, was not a good mix, and Billy would remain in the hospital for some time. And that's how Season 10 ends. Season 11 opens with yet another shocking moment. One of the Brown children getting married. This time it's Gabe. Spoilers, they would get divorced after having a child and custody battles would ensue. Not even good old Gabe could make it work. But that doesn't happen until after the show ends. For now, the show is mainly centered around two things. The Brown family building up their Washington homestead, and the worsening condition of Billy's health. Tests came back and revealed that Billy's heart was in some stage of failure, what he described as being very weak. But despite the doctor's warnings, Billy decides to return to Browntown 2.0. And then something extremely shocking happens. Bear gets married. If you blink, you could miss it. In the span of 3 episodes, Bear meets this woman, goes on a first date with her, and I think he proposes by the 3rd or 4th. What's probably most shocking is that she says yes, and Season 11 ends on a happy note. But the same cannot be said for Season 12. Just days before Bear's scheduled wedding, he disappears. And when he reappears, he tells the family that the wedding has been called off.
I can't help but blame myself a little around the edges because I'm not normal and all.
Bear's ex-fiancée Raven told him that he was just not the one for her. I could only imagine how she felt in that moment being proposed to on national television after knowing this guy less than a couple of months. She probably felt very pressured to say yes. It's also worth noting that she is significantly younger than Bear. I believe in her very early 20s. Something I didn't really bring up much was the age of most of the Brown family. Billy and Amy are in their 60s and 70s, but most of the kids are in their 30s and even 40s now. And it seemed like they were having a lot more success in love now that they had moved to Washington from the middle of nowhere, Alaska. I'm sure also having 10 seasons of a television show done about you two helps, because Gabe, Noah, and almost Bear were all married, and Gabe was even having another child. But it turns out, so was Bear. Bear's ex-fiancée Raven would contact him soon after, telling him that she was pregnant with his child, causing him to cut his extreme camping trip short to try and rekindle their relationship. And that is where season 12 ends, leading us into the most eventful season by far, season 13. This is when it really started to hit me that Matt wasn't around anymore. He had been seen once or twice on camera since their move to Washington, and the show offered absolutely no explanation for his disappearance, many assuming it had something to do with further substance problems. But of course, the wider internet would find out about the horrific allegations against Matt, leading many people to believe that Billy told him he had to leave. He was jeopardizing the Discovery money. Matt would continue to post by himself to his Instagram account, not really mentioning his family much, but it didn't sound like their relationship was positive. Matt even claiming that Amy was taking his royalty checks from the show.
Jason, are you a millionaire? No, man. No, I'm broke, man. Like, seriously, definitely not a millionaire. I shouldn't have as much financial problems as I do because of the show I was on, but I didn't get royalties from it, or residuals is what they call it. My mom actually cashes my royalty checks and stuff, and I need to get an entertainment lawyer to be able to fix that problem. One of these days I will. I just don't know when. That's another thing. So many years I've been out here fighting the good fight and everything, and telling myself just persevere.
While Matt was off doing his own thing, the rest of the family still had 2 seasons of television to record. And season 13 starts off pretty crazy. A massive wildfire rips through Browntown, destroying a good portion of it. Bear's house, Rain's house, and of course the main family home are the only structures spared from the flames. People like Noah and Snowbird lose most everything. Then, as if things couldn't get any worse, their dog Mr. Cupcake passes. I haven't really mentioned Mr. Cupcake before, but you've probably seen him in some clips or pics. He was a medium to large sized dog that the family got back around season 2. Dude was a trooper, rest in peace, Mr. Cupcake. Things were bad for the family, but Bear was about to have a turn of good luck. After Raven, his ex-fiancée, and his son came to visit, her and Bear fell back in love, or at least that's what Bear claims. For now, at least, it seemed like they were back together, making it work for their son. But as if this season couldn't be any more of a roller coaster, Billy was about to face even more health problems. One day, Billy would have a massive seizure, and paramedics would be unable to resuscitate him, making season 13 Billy Brown's last season. I know I say a lot of the show was made up, but Billy did actually pass, and the legacy he left behind for his children is very interesting. We'll get into it here in a bit. Let's just say, Billy had one more surprise left for his kids, but for now it was the end of season 13, and it left the Brown family with an extremely unsure future. Damaged property, the loss of their father, and impending legal issues. This perfect storm would make season 14 the last. Season 14 is mainly about the familial growth of the Brown family. Gabe has a kid, Bear gets married, but after 2 weeks they're already having horrible problems, thinking about separating, and Noah decides that he's going to move his family to Alaska to once again become an Alaskan Bush person. And I wish I could say things were going so well for the two girls of the family. Bird was suffering from some pretty severe stomach issues, and Rain was admitted to a mental facility after she started saying she could hear Billy speaking to her in her thoughts. And the season, as well as the show, pretty much leaves every sibling with unfinished business. They really expected to get a season 15, but it was that aforementioned last gift of Billy Brown that prevented it. The Billy Brown estate would be sued by an alleged former business partner, claiming they were owed near $500,000 from Billy. I haven't been able to pin down the exact details of the deal, but it seemed to have involved the show, and this alleged partner getting a piece of the proceeds from it that he never saw. So all of this legal trouble ended Alaskan Bush people. They say that it's just been put on hiatus, but I don't think they'll ever return, especially given all that's happened recently. Truth be told, I wouldn't even be making this video if Bear didn't air out all of the family's personal information on his TikToks. I hadn't thought about the Alaskan Bush people in years, until I ran across a video of Bear talking shit on his brother Matt.
So I wanted to make this video addressing Matt. It's going to be the only video that I make about him, but I've been getting a lot of people asking in my lives and on my videos about him, saying that he's not doing well and stuff like that, which is something that I've previously told people. So I'd like to start out by saying that there's nothing anybody in the family can do to help him. He doesn't want anything to do with the family, and he just blames the family for all of his problems, even though the family didn't do anything, except for try to help him. So Matt struggles with addictions, both alcohol and other things. And from what I've been hearing, he's not in a good place right now, which was bound to happen, because until he actually wants to change, wants to get help, and wants to fix himself, he's not going to be able to. I pray for him every day that he finds his way and, snaps out of it. But he's not going to do that by blaming other people for his problems and completely not even trying to help himself at all. So I understand that things like that happen a lot in the world, and that it's terrible. People get addicted to stuff and they just keep going and going and going until they become eventually past the point of return, And I hope that one day he does find his way, but he needs to go to rehab. Matt needs to go and get help. That's exactly what he needs to do. People, I know, sending him money and stuff, you're trying to help him and all, but the problem is with people that are addicted to things, that the majority of anything you're sending is going to go to feed that addiction. And so when someone that has problems like he has ends up having a larger amount of money, it is more destructive for them. So the reason I'm making this video is because I'm concerned for his life, honestly. If he keeps going down the path that he is, it's not going to be good. He needs to go to rehab. He needs help. And unfortunately, there's nothing myself or anybody in the family can do to make that happen. And honestly, there's really nothing anybody can do to make that happen. He has to make the choice himself to choose to go to rehab. But I just wanted to make this video to address that, guys, because I get the question a lot, and I just wanted you to know that it's not that I don't care, it's that there's nothing I can do. He's also done stuff that a lot of people don't know about and all, and he struggles badly with addiction, and he desperately needs help. God bless, guys.
Only days after this video was posted, Matt's body was found floating down a river, his life ended by his own hand. And this news, of course, reminded a great many people of Alaskan Bush people, leading the Brown family to have a renewed surge in social media popularity. So they would talk quite a bit about the situation regarding Matt, making most of the private information regarding the situation public themselves. Like I said earlier, Matt's story might be darker than his father Billy's. What seemed like such a happy and jovial person turned out to have incredibly dark allegations against them and an incredibly dark end. But none of the children have really fared well since the show ended. Bear has had a string of problems with his baby mama, Raven, who he seems to no longer be in any form of romantic relationship with. Bear is also having problems with other members of the family. Apparently, Noah's ex-wife sold a bunch of his stuff that he was storing at their house.
So as y'all guys know, they're going through a bit of a messy divorce. I've had my stuff stored on their property with Noah's permission, and she just texted me saying that she legally stole my Jeep, that is now in her name, and that she got the title transferred over to her name, and she now owns my Jeep, and that she's giving it to somebody. She also said that she threw away all of my stuff that was stored on their property, which includes stuff that was given to me by Dad that I can not get back. That includes guitars, katanas, as well as a collection of comic books, including several first issue comic books and the first appearance of one of my favorite characters that Dad gave me. It was my favorite comic book character for a very long time, and Dad gave me the issue, the very first appearance that he was in. I also had an aerosol BB gun in there, and I've had other stuff as well, a bunch of motocross clothes, some hoodies, some of my leather jacket collection, and I don't even know what all. And she just told me that she deemed it garbage and that she threw it all away, that I'm no longer welcomed on her property, and I have nothing on her property. On top of that, I've heard some stuff about the person that she's dating, that the guy has actually been up on like charges, including assaulting like a child and stuff. Now those I have not investigated myself, but that's what I've been hearing. And if that is the case, I'm concerned for my nephews and nieces living in the same area as this guy. So Ruth has definitely shown her true colors. I don't understand why she would attack my stuff and blatantly steal things that do not belong to her, whether or not she could find a loophole to do so. That is still thievery, and that is stealing. So I no longer own my Jeep, and she threw away all the stuff, including the stuff that I cannot get back, that Dad, who passed away over 5 years ago, gave me. So yes, I am not pleased with this at all. I believe that she is definitely gone off the deep end.
His most recent TikTok posts are all about how he's having troubles with his wife, or travel, or making content. He's even got GoFundMes up. It seemed like in the end, Bear ended up a deadbeat dad, just a little less extreme than he used to be. Noah's not really faring much better either. Soon after the show ended, Noah and his wife would separate, and he would start living out of the guest cabin.
Hey guys, we wanted to talk to you for a second. You're not in trouble. We just wanted you to hear this from us instead of from somewhere else. Rain and I have decided that it is in our best interests to separate. We're going to take a break for a while, and we are no longer together. I was asked to move out a bit ago, and I am now living in our guest cabin. As some people have pointed out in watching the videos, they noticed that this isn't the main house. Mm-hmm. I still get to see Eli and Adam. I get them on the weekends, and I can stop by if I message first to be able to make sure it's okay. That way I can see them and everything. But we are currently taking a break.
We did discuss when you go up to Alaska that, in fact, all those times that he has left before, we do feel a little bit better afterwards. Like, what do you say? The
absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yes. So, and we have noticed that helps. And so this year in Alaska is going to be one of our good moments of we are separated, and it is what it is.
From what I could tell, for months, people were telling Noah that he needed to get a lawyer. She was serious about divorcing him. But it seemed like Noah thought he could just make it work, and now he's absolutely been taken for a ride. Even the custody of his kids is now in question.
Tomorrow, I'm heading to go pick up Matt's effects from the coroner. And at the same time as all of this, and having beaten that anti-harassment restraining order thing that my ex-wife's boyfriend was trying to do against me, I found out, I think it was Friday, that I found out around Friday that my divorce situation is changing, and she's attempting to relocate and gonna take the kids away, as well as it looks like the temporary plan that is in place, if this goes through, would restrict my time to like 2 weeks or something like that out of the summer, and that's it. If this is allowed, then I'm gonna lose my kids.
As much as I dislike Noah, it seems like his ex-wife may have a bit of a screw loose, and one of my main points of evidence is her name change. Noah's wife is legally named Rain. She changed it soon after they got together. That's weird because Noah has a little sister also named Rain. But it gets even weirder when you hear about the allegations Rain made against her brother, Noah. Not his wife, his sister. Whenever I say Rain from this point forward, we're talking about the youngest Brown child. Well, Rain has had many struggles of her own. Many believe that she has substance problems of her own, even into this day. It's not hard to see why these theories are so popular. We don't know much about her personal life, but we do know about the allegations she made against her brother Noah. Years after the show ended, Rain would claim that Noah was inappropriate towards her while they were children. The Brown family has long been accused of behavior like this, but to my knowledge, these were the first set of allegations a sibling had made against another one. And they were pretty damning for what was left of Noah's dwindling career. It was a huge topic of discussion for a couple of months, but it seemed like eventually the siblings reconciled. I believe Rain's claim these days is that she made it all up. All I know for certain is that they have been seen filming together since the allegations were made.
Okay, cool. And how, are you doing good? You doing good?
I'm doing really good.
One
yes.
thumbs up or 2 thumbs up?
2 thumbs up.
Okay,
I'm
good.
doing really good.
That is good.
I'm doing my meds. I'm back in therapy. I'm journaling. I'm doing all the things.
You got it rolling.
The ball is already rolling.
Like it is train tracks. It's not a road. You're just like going
exactly.
straight
And the train has bumpers.
The train has bumpers. Just in case. Nice. And yeah, there is some stuff back before.
We both said things we didn't mean.
Exactly. Both said things we didn't mean.
At the end of the day, he's still my brother.
Water under the bridge, right?
Water under the bridge.
She's doing good. I'm doing good. We're
and
doing
I'm
good.
pregnant.
I was about to lead up to that.
Apparently, they've been able to put it all behind them. But one thing's for certain, the family is not nearly as close as it used to be. The siblings seem to have scattered. You've heard the fates of most of the siblings except for Bam and Bird, and that's because they mostly keep to themselves. Bam seems to have started a conservative talk show called Brown Overboard, and Bird has mostly kept to herself. Oh, and the mother Amy has moved on, finding another boyfriend since Billy's passing. Honestly, good for her. If this series has taught me one thing, it's that Billy Brown is terrible. He robbed a young child of her future, and then his own children of their own childhood. Billy was basically running a cult. Everyone there worked for him, and he always had the final say. When you first start watching Alaskan Bush people, it's hard not to root for the Browns. They endure a lot of hardship and seemingly work very hard themselves. But with a little observation, you see there's a grimy underneath. Stuff the show doesn't tell you, stuff the series shows you but doesn't talk about, and it's all explained when you put a couple more puzzle pieces in. Why were the police doing a welfare check on Amy? Why did Matt disappear? Why did the show end? Hopefully I've answered those questions for you today, because the answers completely shift my perception of the show. A show that turned out to be one of the darkest productions in Discovery Channel history.